Alrighty, so week one is done for 88% of you. That is the highest number I have seen achieve the week one in my class. So good on you. I'm trying to figure out what made the difference. I think there's, for whatever reason, a couple of things, but one of the things I really want to highlight is the benefit of the support that you can get on Discord and working ahead, right? Those are like key things that I would recommend. Many of you are, but if you haven't, consider joining Discord because, and this might be age, but I'm not a late night person. I don't think I really ever have been. I'm just not. So, some of you, though, this is when you can work for whatever reason in your life. Try to pull that ahead a little bit if you can, especially if you were having some challenges. Now, week one was a challenge for most. And you might wonder why I do week one the way I do. Like, what does setting up this local dev environment, why do I have to do this? Well, in my opinion, and this has been confirmed by many people I've talked to in the industry, it is a basic skill that once you jump over that hurdle of understanding how to set up dev environments, how to make sure you're running the latest Python version. That I saw that last night in some of the discussion. I was actually on a little bit of a road trip for our business last night, and I could see some of it happening, but I couldn't reply. And I know some of it had to do with permissions. Some of it just had to do with Python. So Python, you really need to be running at least version 3, and the latest version of version 3, 3.8, I believe at this point, although and that's the other thing, right, is that things are constantly changing. There's new software versions coming out. The amount of updates they do to VS Code is crazy ridiculous, which is good. You would want them to. But what that means is you need to load those updates. Sorry, a little bit of a digression there. So just understanding how to set up and what can happen for students when they're setting up that local environment. But the key that I'm trying to say is if you run into issues, get help, right? And thank you. And there's the other thing this class, I believe, is really going to benefit from is that we have a tutor, Aaron, who took my class last semester and rocked it, did a great job. And the thing with Aaron, and I don't think he would mind me saying this, so Aaron, if I'm embarrassing you, tell me, but Aaron really had a commitment to learning this craft. And here's the other thing I will tell you, right? There is going to be people in here that are better coders than I am. There are going to be people in your life, right? You want people around you that are actually better at something than you are. That's often how you learn. And when you look at and you talk to them, because I've talked to many in my life, like, how did you get good at this? And the answer is repetition. The more you do something, as with anything in life. So there's so many lessons here. The better at it you get. So be willing to do that. Be willing to give your, and here's the other thing is I get this, like this is not your only class, right? You have many demands on your time. And so figuring out how to balance and how to try to set yourself up for success, in my opinion, means not working on it, maybe not every day, but as many days as you can, or scheduling yourself to where when you're going to work on something. So as an example, we have week 2 coming up, right? So in week 2, you have a code along. So if you're not used to this concept yet, right, you'll get another round. Like everything from this, you have to have set up your local dev environments. The code alongs is you're coding along with Al. I give you file names and commit. Like I generally want you to commit after each video. But again, my video for the code along for week 2 is there. And then we have a challenge. I give you a challenge in the Learn Together. And the idea here is that we're creating this idea of here's the challenge, here's what I want you to accomplish. I want you to attempt it without looking at somebody else's code, right? Because that's the way you work that muscle. That's the way. And here's the deal. In this industry, it's very common for people to look at somebody else's code to see how they accomplished it. And there's nothing wrong with that, because what you really get is the benefit of the way that they think and they understand code. Because what we're really trying to teach you is how to think like Python. And Python is not complicated, but programming concepts, if this is your first programming courses, can be challenging because Python wants you to think like it. It's not going to think like you. We're not at the place in technology, right, where computers are thinking like people. Although, man, there are some examples that sure feel like we're getting closer. But the point of my discussion is really what you're doing here is learning how to think in a logical way and break down problems and write code to accomplish it. And no matter if you are a seasoned programmer or if you're new, the more you do something, the better you get at it and having conversations, right? So hopefully you saw my week 1 where I sent it out to all my students, telling them the different ways to get, what's Zoom for, what's Discord for. So hopefully you got all that. I don't need to repeat it. Okay, so, but this week is available. As a matter of fact, next week is available. And I really appreciate the students who work ahead. I appreciate all students. Let me just say, I'm ecstatic, given where we as a campus are, to have enough students to make classes like this go. I'm just ecstatic for that. And I want as many of you as we can get to succeed through this class. So I don't know what it looks like, but all I know is I'm trying to give you pathways to get support. I hope you take advantage of them. Okay. I hope you work ahead. I hope you schedule yourself accordingly. I hope you get what you need, either from me or from somebody else. Again, Aaron's here. He's awesome. He's really committed, right? But he also has his classes, so he's not always going to be on. Hopefully, between all of us, if you're posting questions somewhere, that I typically will reply more during the day than at night. So, but again, everybody has different demands, so we have to figure out over time what works. So, good for you for being here. One thing I do want to say is that some of you are taking this class and you're taking CIT 9082 with me. And then I think at least one of you is taking both JavaScript and Python, which, by the way, I don't recommend unless you have experience. But let me just say this in the overall scheme. I don't teach Python as in the web development way. I teach Python just from its language perspective, and teaching you that basic language. And then this semester, I am going to be making some changes at probably after the midpoint of this semester, after we finish our second code review. So you have 3 code reviews for this class. And then after that, I actually switch away from the content of Al's course because it is a little dated. I really, really struggled whether I was going to use it this semester. Struggled meaning I really thought about it. And I decided I'm going to give it another round, and then I'm going to add content. And Aaron's going to be happy to hear this, as I'm adding a section on classes. And then at the end, instead of doing something that might be in the web perspective, we're going to do a graphical, use a graphical tool called Tkinter, to build a graphical interface and just to give you that experience. And I got good feedback about this last semester from most people. So anyway, that's kind of where we're headed. But at this point in the semester, we're heading into week 2. You finished week 1. Hopefully you have a better understanding. Next week's assignments are out there. Week three's assignments are out there. You do need to have the latest version of Python. And I will tell you this, right, is that part of your first code review is going to be actually where when you come into a Zoom session with me, I give you like a simple thing to code and to do the Git workflow. So the more you do the Git workflow, the better you get at it, the easier that first code review. So there'll be 2 parts. And I'll start talking about this probably next week. Today I decided to look around and I looked at Redmonk. Redmonk is one of those areas what I like to look at periodically to say what's the most popular programming language. And they rate popularity by GitHub, the number of projects, right? And the rank on Stack Overflow. So up here at the top, JavaScript, Java, and Python, right? So it's cool. It's popular. Matter of fact, I think Redmonk even might be a little behind. I've read recently where Python is going past Java in popularity. It's hard to determine because it's not, they go by GitHub, which is important, right? You kind of see in this graph the importance of something like GitHub. And if you don't know Stack Overflow, trust me, you will. If you're going to do coding, you're going to look at Stack Overflow. It's where so many questions get asked and answered. But just be careful, right? Just understand grabbing, I'm going to repeat myself, grabbing somebody else's code and using it as your own is not the intention. Reading and understanding the logic and how they use it is a better application of that. But it is a great time to be studying Python. And I know there are students that are not CIT students that are here. And I say my comment about CIT82, which is Introduction to Web Development, that some of you are taking that class and Python together. Probably, in my opinion, and take it for what it is, it's better to take 82 and 93, my JavaScript class. But I can't really tell you. I can just make recommendations. And the truth is, it's all good. You'll find what balance works for you. But it was not our intention. My intention, honestly, when we sequenced the web developer degree, was students would take 82, get an introduction to Git and GitHub. They don't clone the thing that you did last night or before last night. They don't do that until week 3. So the idea is a little more gentle introduction, I would say. But the cool thing is that, you get to choose. And that's really, because our thinking when we create sequences, and many of you are not in this for a degree, many of you are just here to gain additional skill, and that you understand the importance of Python. I don't have to tell you that, you already know that. And just to let you know, starting next semester, we are going to have our data science program more implemented into the schedule. And Python, of course, is the programming language of data science for the most part. R is very popular as well. But in this case, this is going to be more of the focus of what future Python classes will look like for me. So if you're again, I'll leave you with this concept. I can't dictate it, nor should I. But if you're a web developer, taking JavaScript kind of makes sense. But taking Python's good too, right? So I'm glad you're here, whichever way you decided to go. And I'm happy. And again, I appreciate all the discussion happening out on Discord and all the support that's happening. I'm ecstatic that Aaron is here and helping us through. And I look forward to seeing how week 2 goes for you all. And I just want to get started, but Monday's a holiday. So things will be moved to Tuesday night for this week. So I hope you enjoy the content, and I'll talk to you soon.